And Margaret Brennan joins us now from the White House. All right, Margaret, so now Speaker Ryan is conceding that the health care bill does need some changes in order to ultimately pass. So the question is, what are some concessions that he might offer that would win over skeptical conservatives?
Right. This is a change. This is signaling a bit of a pullback here because Paul Ryan kept saying this was a binary choice, that this was about Obamacare, which he and other Republicans say is failing, either getting replaced completely now or implosion. And now they're saying, well, maybe there's a third option here to find some compromise and open this up a bit. So it's definitely a signal that the concern coming from many conservatives on Capitol Hill that this plan isn't conservative enough, that it's too similar to Obamacare, means that they will not support it unless they get the changes that they want. So this is a blow, but this isn't the final shot here because the Trump administration is continuing to be in that sales mode. We know the president will be going next week, hitting the road, doing another big rally to try to sell this. Meanwhile, Vice President Mike Pence is trying to help make some of those changes, which could include things like changes to Medicaid, an earlier than expected plan to freeze that expansion or slow it at least.
So, Margaret, in addition to the president's rally last night, he also answered some questions for the first time about his wiretapping claims. Let's listen to what he told Fox News, then we can talk about it on the other side.
He will be submitting certain things, and I will be perhaps speaking about this next week. But it's right now before the committee, and I think I want to leave it there. I have a lot of confidence in the committee.
Why not wait to tweet about it until you can prove it? Don't you devalue your words when you can't provide evidence?
Because the New York Times wrote about it. You know, not that I respect the New York Times. I call it the failing New York Times. But they did write on January 20th using the word wiretap. Other people have come out with
right, but you're the president. You have the ability to gather all the evidence you want.
I do, but I think that, frankly, we have a lot right now. And I think if you watched the Brett Baier and what he was saying and what he was talking about and how he mentioned the word wiretap, you would feel very confident that you could mention the name. He mentioned it.
Okay, so the president is claiming to have evidence that we'll hear about soon, citing media reports. We heard him bring up the New York Times article before, which does use the word wiretapping, but it's not about wiretapping Trump Tower. It's about an investigation into whether or not Russians meddled in the election. All this is happening while the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee says that he's found no evidence to support the president's claim. So where does this go from here?
Well, it's an interesting message to hear from the President of the United States. Do not take me at my word. Don't quote me and don't believe what I'm saying when I'm being quoted. Go by what I'm actually signaling. This is what I really mean. It's been a changing message, and it's been one that's been a real communications problem for the White House, and it's complicating the president's agenda because in that interview and at that rally and consistently over the past few weeks, at a time when he really needs to be selling this health care plan and talking about his initiatives, he's instead talking about a tweet that he sent 11, 12 days ago and a claim that he has refused to clarify or apologize for, even though Republicans on Capitol Hill, including the head of the Intelligence Committee that the president has called on to lead an investigation or probe as they continue to probe Russia meddling in the election. He's saying there's no evidence. That's Devin Nunes, who you just cited there. So it continues to be a problem, and the president's remarks last night will only perpetuate that. I just want to quickly tell you what's happening behind me, because you see that honor guard here at the White House lining up. We have the Irish Prime Minister coming for the annual St. Patrick's Day visit to the White House, which is why you see all those men in uniform with flags.
Margaret, you will have to show the Irish Prime Minister your Irish dancing skills. You know I'm going to say this to you every time we talk about Ireland, right? That Margaret Brennan, for our viewers who don't know, was, as a young child, a Irish dance champion.
Wow.
That's right. That's right. She's also now...
press.
He likes embarrassing me, but yes.
Let's get back to some serious business
Irish
here.
step dancing.
So, Margaret, President Trump's first budget blueprint is out this morning, and as expected, it includes some major cuts to multiple federal agencies, including the State Department. The EPA is going to be cut. The National Endowment for the Arts and the Humanities is going to be axed entirely, along with the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which is responsible for PBS and NPR. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell was asked last month if a budget that slashes State Department funding could pass the Senate, and he said, quote, probably not. So is this budget constituted as dead on arrival.
Well, that's what Republican leadership is saying on Capitol Hill to a Republican president. But what this seems to be is a politically minded sort of. Actually, they call it that, essentially. They say Mick Mulvaney, the head of the budget office, has said they took candidate Trump and President Trump's rhetoric and basically tried to match a budget to those phrases. So saying essentially there that they're matching policy up with promises. But the challenge here is not only will it not get the support to pass and become law, it's dead on arrival, but also when you look at just what the reality is here, these kind of budget blueprints are called, a skinny budget. They're more of an idea and a proposal than an actual plan. We will get a more fleshed out version of the budget in May, and you can imagine between now and then there's going to be some negotiation when you have the Senate Foreign Relations leadership, when you have the Republican leadership saying, look, you can't possibly cut foreign aid the way you're talking about, when you have Democrats certainly opposing all these dramatic cuts to environmental protection, there's going to be some negotiation. And what I think is really interesting this morning, Vlad, is you saw 100 or more evangelical and Catholic leaders come out in a public letter saying it is our moral responsibility to oppose dramatic cuts in foreign aid. And the reason that matters, putting ideology aside, is the fact that the evangelical base was very important to helping to elect President Trump. And so when you have that objection on a moral basis saying that as Christians we need to continue to help those in need, not slash and bring money home, which is how the Trump administration has presented it, it really will force the attention of many of the people here at the White House to possibly reconsider, simply because the people who voted for President Trump don't all agree that this is how they want to execute the policy. Of course, to some people this sounds great. Who it may not sound great to are not only the people who work at the State Department, who work at USAID on programs that deliver food to starving countries, on programs that help stabilize developing worlds, and to those who work in some of the training programs that the Pentagon and the State Department work together on to help get other militaries around the world up to snuff so that U.S. troops don't have to go in there. So there's a lot of programs that the State Department does jointly with other agencies that may, I think, get protected here in these broader negotiations. But it's, as the Trump administration, a hard power, not a soft power budget. You had Secretary Tillerson talking today saying that, well, we can go forward with this plan because there are going to be fewer wars. I don't know how you can possibly project that, but that is how he is saying this is going to be possible. So we're building up the military is his bet, therefore there won't be wars. Of course, that doesn't match with the way things happen in the real world. He himself is standing in Asia trying to stave off a nuclear threat from North Korea.
Indeed, Margaret Brennan at the White House. Thank you so much, Margaret.